All right, this is probably the last dispatch from USA basketball camp, specifically as it relates to Caitlin Clark. But everybody's been talking about it because it is the topic of interest, given she hasn't played basketball in so long, and given, of course, who she is. And there's one thing I did notice in the latest round of commentary, which is a consistency. There is a consistency when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And that consistency is that everybody is saying one thing, whether they change, the specifics of it, or they talk about defense, or they talk about other aspects. The one consistent theme
across the board, the reaction was unanimous. After weeks of rumors, setbacks, and non-stop debate, USA basketball camp delivered a moment no one could ignore. Caitlin Clark, arguably the most examined athlete in the modern sports spotlight, took the floor and immediately rewrote the conversation. What unfolded wasn't just impressive, it halted the room, leaving seasoned observers stunned by the clarity of what they were seeing. Quiet doubts dissolved into open acknowledgement as one conclusion spread rapidly from court to corridor. The performance was too consistent, too commanding, to explain away. Even long-standing critics had to stop and reassess. This was not a cautious test run or a measured comeback. It was a forceful statement of readiness, confidence, and control, one that exceeded expectations, including those of her strongest supporters.
Everybody is saying one thing, whether they change, the specifics of it, or they talk about defense, or they talk about other aspects. The one consistent theme is that she looks like herself and she is back. Sabrina Merchant said that on the Athletic show, which was the latest bit that I've seen. And here's what she had to say about what she saw from Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark back on the court, super impressed with Caitlin just being engaged while she was out and getting back to being able to play. It was a combination of USA players going against USA players, and then also USA players going against the scout team, which is just players from small colleges all across North Carolina sort of help.
Sabrina Merchant of The Athletic delivered the first clear signal that something extraordinary was unfolding, confirming what many struggled to believe after Clark's extended time away. This wasn't a player easing back into rhythm. This was Caitlin Clark in full form, unmistakable and unapologetic. Merchant highlighted the energy Clark brought to every possession, the visible joy in her movements, and the unmistakable intensity that defines her game. What stood out most was the absence of hesitation. There were no visible restraints, no signs of rust, and no need for qualifiers. The performance spoke with authority, making excuses irrelevant and timelines obsolete. Coming from a veteran analyst known for restraint and precision, that assessment carried real weight. Her account didn't just validate Clark's return, it set the narrative for the entire camp, marking the moment when disbelief gave way to certain
kind of pass that only Caitlin Clark can make, and Hamby puts the ball on the floor as was described here. You'll see it. So some ball movement at the top of the key. Caitlin has it here, and she's going to make the kind of pass once she gets it back here that really only she would make. And that's a hell of a post-entry pass, but she did put it on the floor there, winds up getting blocked and going the other way. So, that's part of getting used to playing with Caitlin Clark. If you remember at her rookie year, a lot of her teammates dropped a lot of passes. I think they weren't prepared for, because she sees things before they kind of happen. She credits her soccer background for that.
Details Merchant shared were enough to make any fan sit up and take notice, especially given the backdrop of Clark's long injury layoff. That trademark step-back three? It returned exactly as fans remembered, confident, precise, and unstoppable. Her court vision, equally sharp, carved through defenses with a fluidity that made the hours she'd missed seem irrelevant. Clark wasn't simply running through practice drills, she was directing the flow of the game, commanding attention and proving that her signature brilliance hadn't dimmed. This wasn't a cautious effort to shake off rust, this was a master reclaiming her stage, every move deliberate, every shot a statement. The performance didn't just exceed expectations, it redefined them, presenting a comeback that felt more like a declaration than a return.
Because she sees things before they kind of happen. She credits her soccer background for that, but that is a special part of her game. But it wasn't just Sabrina, obviously, who said that. It was also, Annie, who I talked about in the defense video, but again, same consistent theme.
Caitlin coming off of this injury, this is kind of the first time that we all have seen her operating at 100% since her injury. And she herself admitted, even though I feel like I'm at 100, there's still a lot of things that a lot of rust that I need to shake.
One single moment captured everything that makes Caitlin Clark who she is, even for her highly skilled new teammates. Merchant recounted a post-entry pass to Handby, a lightning-quick delivery that only Clark could execute. The timing was unconventional, the trajectory nearly impossible to anticipate. Handby, momentarily taken aback, instinctively put the ball on the floor, only to see it swatted away in a split second. It was a vivid illustration of Clark's unique perspective on the court. She reads the game with an almost preternatural awareness, consistently staying a step ahead of everyone around her. Even seasoned pros find themselves reacting to her plays rather than initiating them. In that brief, electrifying instant, it was clear, her vision and instincts remain in a league of their own, leaving teammates and opponents alike to marvel at the genius unfolding in real time.
The USA basketball observing officer. Yeah, so this is the first time I've coached Caitlin or spend any time with her was today. She's a terrific player, really locked in and focused. The conversation I had with her pre-practice was that this is going to be one of the most fun experiences she's had, because everyone at this level loves the game, like a lot. And when you're growing up, you know, in high school, not every player loves the game like you love it. And then you go to college and not every player loves the game like you love it. I'm talking about like the elite skill, the elite competitors. Then you get here and you're like, whoa, there's more people like me. Like, this is fantastic. So
Adding another layer to Clark's astonishing performance was the sheer physicality she faced. Merchant highlighted that FIA-level play is often more intense, even rougher than the WNBA itself. Clark wasn't just playing against college scout teams. She was being challenged at a brutal international standard. Instructed to mirror FIA intensity to not only endure but thrive under such pressure while still ramping up after her injury was a testament to something deeper than just skill. It showed raw, unyielding.
The thing with the defense aspect of it is with Caitlin, everybody's going to be looking for one thing to nitpick. It was turnovers at one point, because it's basically, you know, you wind up grasping at straws. Again, that doesn't mean there aren't areas of her game to improve. I've talked about that for mid-range, defensively, all those sort of things. But, you know, it's almost humorous how one thing gets highlighted so much because she's highlighted so much herself from her highlights. And then there was Sue Bird, who also spoke about Caitlin Clark. Again, this was after the first day.
Yeah, I thought she looked great, right? I mean, here's a player that didn't get to play this summer, all in, didn't get to play.
It wasn't only Merchant who noticed. Annie, another sharp-eyed analyst, echoed a sentiment just as striking. This camp seemed to reveal the first glimpse of Clark functioning at, or very close to, full strength since her injury. Even Clark herself acknowledged she still had minor rust to shake off, showing her characteristic self-awareness and humility. Yet the observers saw something more. What unfolded on the court felt complete, polished, and fully in command, a version of Clark that contrasted sharply with her own measured assessment. That discrepancy only amplified the awe, as everyone watching began to grasp the sheer scale of her talent returning, seemingly undiminished. It was the kind of performance that didn't just impress, it left a lingering sense that something rare and unmistakable was happening before their eyes.
Here's a player that didn't get to play this summer, all in, didn't get to play a lot of basketball really in the last year plus. So for this to be the first day back, she looked great. You know, the things that are going to be hard is always the conditioning part. It's really hard to get in basketball shape without playing basketball. So I'm sure that's going to, you know, come as the camp comes. But she looks great regardless outside of that. And the other thing is like rhythm, right? You got to find your rhythm. And, you know, I'm sure everybody saw that one step back in transition she had. So the rhythm looks great. But more than anything, you want all these players to just be.
He zeroed in on one unmistakable element, Clark's signature deep-range shot, the effortless long-distance release that has become synonymous with her name. It hadn't missed a beat. Beyond that, her speed, the engine behind much of her game, was clearly returning, a crucial indicator of both recovery and readiness. Each pass was delivered with precision, perfectly timed to sync with her teammates' movements, showcasing a rhythm that seemed instinctive. These weren't isolated moments or lucky plays. They were repeated, reliable displays of the athlete everyone had admired long before her absence. Each sequence reinforced the growing belief that Clark wasn't just bouncing back, she was reclaiming her full form, rewriting expectations, and proving that her return was something far more powerful than a simple comeback.
All the trained eyes, all the people who were in the building, for them all to be saying the same thing is validation that, you know, she's healthy, everything, you know, nothing fell off the map, and that you can only expect it to go up from here. And she followed that same theme in saying that, you know, she felt all the way back and 100%.
Competitive
practice. Obviously, a lot different. I've been working out and playing pickups and stuff like that, but to be in an environment like this is really good for myself.
Are you at 100? Is that
At 100%. Obviously, you need to knock off a little bit of rust.
Then came the authoritative voice everyone was waiting for, Carol Lawson, head coach of Team USA. Her perspective carried unmatched weight, and it confirmed what other observers had already sensed. Coaching Clark for the first time, Lawson described her as focused, engaged, and fully in command, a remark that went far beyond polite coach speak. It was a genuine acknowledgement of a player immediately making her presence felt in a demanding environment. Lawson also offered insight into the unique culture Clark now inhabits. At this elite level, everyone loves the game with intensity. It's a passion shared by all, unlike high school or even college, where players' motivations can vary. For Clark, surrounded by this kind of energy, the camp wasn't just a test, it was one of the most enjoyable experiences of her career, a surprising benefit of competing among like-minded, elite athletes. Critically, Lawson evaluated Clark on both offense and defense. Her observations erased any lingering doubts. Clark looked sharp on every part of the floor, a holistic performance that reinforced her readiness beyond just scoring ability. The endorsement from someone managing the highest level of international competition carried real significance. It wasn't merely positive, it was a confirmation that Clark's game was fully formed, balanced, and comprehensive.